Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we're going to totally rethink your relationship with chaos, stress, and unpredictability. We're going to dive into some really fascinating ideas drawn directly from Nassim Nicholas Taleb's landmark 2012 book, Antifragile, Things That Gain from Disorder. This work is actually part of his 5-volume philosophical treatise on uncertainty, and I promise you, it's going to flip the way you look at risk completely upside down.
So here's a really provocative thought for you. What if chaos actually makes us stronger? I know. Most of us operate under this deep-seated assumption that safety, tranquility, and keeping things perfectly predictable, that's the ultimate goal in life and in business, right? We literally spend vast amounts of our energy just trying to dodge volatility. But Taleb introduces this revolutionary philosophy that challenges that entirely. What if by shielding ourselves from every little shock, we're actually making ourselves dangerously weak?
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the fragility triad, move to the math of convexity, compare ancient robustness to modern fragility, and finally, explore skin in the game.
Section 1, the fragility triad. Let's kick things off by building a foundation and looking at how different things react when they're exposed to volatility.
All right, first things first, we have to explicitly define our core term here. And fun fact, Taleb actually had to invent the word antifragile because there wasn't a single word in our language that quite captured this phenomenon. Antifragile describes things that literally gain from disorder. We're talking about a system, a business, or a person that actually benefits disproportionately from external negative events, stress, and just plain uncertainty.
Think about it like this. Imagine you drop a delicate glass teacup on the floor. Boom, it shatters. That's fragile, things that are harmed by disorder. Now, imagine dropping a solid rock. It hits the floor, and it's still a rock. That is resilient, things that are completely unaffected by disorder. But then we have this third state, antifragile. And this goes leaps and bounds beyond mere resilience. If an object is antifragile, it doesn't just survive the drop, it actually gets stronger because of it.
Let's ground this abstract triad in everyday reality with a brilliant analogy from Taleb. Compare a highly paid corporate executive with a self-employed taxi driver. Now, the executive seems totally safe, right? Steady paycheck, fancy office, the whole shebang. But they are actually incredibly fragile. They likely have a pretty expensive lifestyle and high debt. If a massive shock hits the economy and they face unemployment, the result is catastrophic. The taxi driver, on the other hand, well, their income might bounce around every single day. But with zero debt and the ability to instantly adapt to market changes, they are much more likely to survive and maybe even capitalize on an economic disaster. They're exposed to these daily microstressors that actually keep them sharp.
Section 2, the math of convexity. Let's peel back the curtain and look at the underlying mathematical theory that actually proves this concept.
So, Taleb links antifragility to a mathematical concept known as Jensen's inequality. To put it simply, it's all about how you respond to stress. If you have a concave response, small shocks hurt you. That's fragility. But if you have a convex response, your upside from a chaotic event is mathematically way larger than your downside. You are quite literally positioned to win from chaos.
So how on earth do you actually achieve this convex antifragile state in a world full of destructive uncertainty? Well, the formula is what we call a barbell strategy. You combine extreme safety with small, high-upside risks. Basically, you protect your downside aggressively by avoiding debt and catastrophic risks entirely, but then you expose yourself to small, speculative bets that could yield absolutely massive rewards. You're preparing to benefit disproportionately from the unexpected. Section 3, ancient robustness, modern fragility. Let's zoom out to the macro level to see how history reflects these mathematical responses to chaos.
If you look at our modern world, Taleb argues that it is absolutely riddled with fragility. It's derived from massive debt, highly interconnected technology, and economic structures that rely entirely on circumstances remaining perfectly predictable. Everything is just so over-optimized. But older, ancient societies, they were significantly better at managing risk. Their systems were simpler, they were localized, and they definitely didn't rely on this crazy illusion that we can perfectly forecast the future.
Which brings us to this fascinating concept called the green lumber fallacy. The name comes from a wild story about a trader named Joe Siegel. This guy made an absolute fortune trading a commodity called green lumber. But here's the kicker. Joe literally thought green lumber was wood painted green. He had no idea it just meant freshly cut, undried wood. Yet he made a killing because he deeply understood how to trade risk and price action. Meanwhile, the highly intellectual traders who knew all the grand economic theories about commodities, they went completely bust. So the green lumber fallacy is mistaking theoretical, narrative knowledge for actual, practical knowledge. Modern over-intellectualization completely blinds us to the raw, on-the-ground details that actually matter, creating high, opaque, negative impacts when our nice-sounding theories inevitably fail in the real world.
Section 4. Skin in the game. Finally, we're going to apply these systemic concepts to ethics and the way we structure our modern institutions. Every captain goes down with every ship. Taleb uses this really powerful ancient rule to illustrate an absolute ethical necessity. To have skin in the game means you must incur personal risk whenever you are involved in achieving a goal or making a decision that affects others.
Because you see, when decision makers don't go down with the ship, we get the agency problem. This is a situation where a manager, an academic, or a politician follows a strategy that looks completely sound on the surface, but secretly it just benefits them while transferring all the actual risk to the true owners or to society at large. The manager becomes anti-fragile, collecting massive bonuses when things go right, but society becomes fragile, paying the catastrophic price when it all crashes. Because they can hide the risks, they have absolutely zero skin in the game.
Taleb highlights a very specific, real-world example of this, which he calls the Alan Blinder problem. Alan Blinder, a former vice chairman of the Federal Reserve, allegedly tried to pitch an investment product at Davos in 2008, and the entire purpose of this product was to circumvent regulations limiting deposit insurance, essentially allowing the super-rich to get near unlimited coverage. Taleb heavily criticized this as insiders gaming the very system they built, basically scamming taxpayers for free government-sponsored insurance. It is the exact opposite of ethical risk-taking and skin in the game. It's weaponized fragility against the public.
Now, what is truly remarkable is just how far Taleb's framework has spread since the book was published. This paradigm shift has transcended economics entirely. The concept of anti-fragility is now actively applied in physics, molecular biology, and complex risk analysis. NASA has even explored it for engineering aerospace systems, and computer scientists have actually proposed an anti-fragile software manifesto to design digital systems that genuinely improve from environmental inputs and stress, rather than just trying to build thicker and thicker firewalls. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to look closely at the systems in your own life, your career, and the institutions you rely on every single day. Ask yourself, are they fragile, resilient, or anti-fragile? Are you deliberately exposing yourself to small, manageable stressors to grow stronger? Or are you over-optimizing for a perfectly predictable world that simply doesn't exist? And most importantly, where are you, or the leaders you follow, secretly hiding your risks? Thanks so much for watching, and I really hope this changes how you look at the chaos around you.